Hi, my name is Patrick Murillo. We're here taking the class, and I'm grateful that you taking the class here. We're going to be doing Quetzalcoatl in the night flight, in his ship. And this is inspired, by something I seen over in Mexico in the museum over there and online, And it's always been a favorite because it's so sci-fi. I mean, come on, he's flying a spaceship. He's got a helmet on and everything. My spin is that, I turned it into a vehicle. We got the computer screens here showing his, the monitors showing where he's going and stuff. And we got the ship, which is the plume serpent. And then you've got the handbag, which is from all over the world and all the different cultures. We don't know what it means, but they always have one. And you've got the guy all dressed up in his suit. You know what I mean? And so I just threw him out in outer space. The original one is just a piece of stone that's shaped like that. And you don't really get to see the context of what it is. But that's my take on it. And I added the colors that I thought would make it pop and contrast. We're gonna do it in the old-fashioned with the carbon paper and the transfer. You can change the background. You can take him from outer space. You can put whatever you want around him or whatever, or you can add on to it. You could change that into something else. It's up to you. You can change the colors. I did. And hope we didn't offend anybody, but. When you get it online or when you get the picture, it's just a monotone. Sometimes you only see it in green. It's like they want to make things mystical so that we don't think that they actually happen. But there's too many pictures of things like this that you just can't deny. You know what I mean? So I run with that kind of angle to where that I think that we're living in a time where we're behind. We lost a lot of knowledge and technology, and these people had it, or at least their gods had it, and everybody was flying around the world, the people from East India, the Vimanas and the Hindus and all that, they were flying, everybody was flying, the Greeks, everybody was flying, even back in the day when we had airships, so how hard it would be for, to believe that this civilization could have, learned how to do it, could have figured it out before us, and then didn't share it with us. Maybe we weren't worthy to be, flying around. Okay, these are the paints that I use. I use the 3 different kinds of blues and the 3 different kinds of greens, but everything else is pretty much the singular, primary colors. And you can also mix your own colors to achieve some of these, but one thing I'm not showing you is the skin color, which I usually make with this, the red, the yellow, a little bit of black and some white maybe, and I just keep twirling until I achieve the skin tone that I like, So you can see where it starts, and then it ends up over here. Square brush, liner brush, and round brush. The polyurethane for the final coat, and you have the glitter. As you put the glitter before, like on this one, we only did it on the stars and the monitors. Everything else doesn't have it, because if you do it on everything else, it's gonna be too much. And then when everything's completely dry, then you do this. And this is the fan that I was talking about. It's always on, facing. All right, here we go. We got an 8x10 little canvas, and we have the design, and we're gonna transfer it on using this carbon paper, old school style. Line it up as much as possible till it gets around the edges. Then you place your image there, tape it down, and you're going to start tracing it with a dull pencil, not a sharp pencil, but a dull pencil, allowing you to not cut through the paper. Excuse my big old head. And take it by section, otherwise you'll forget if you went over it or not. So it's also good to kind of go over it again if you doubt it. But just take your time, and when you get done, you pull it apart to reveal your lines, and you can like trace over the ones that are too weak or whatever you need to. On this one, I had misplaced the angle of the picture and it kind of shaped downwards. So I want to fix that. Just put a little true line there and then kind of work around it. That way I felt better. It would have bugged me forever. That way you can like look around it and correct your lines. Now what we're gonna do is go around the outskirt of the painting and paint out the outer space. We're gonna do black. I love black for like the absoluteness of it. This is where everybody kind of gets messy because you start holding it the wrong way or whatever. You know, learn how to hold it where it's not going to affect it. And then also you're going to want to paint the edges of it. So you're going to want to hold it from the bottom of the canvas in order not to get paint on it, because it'll become a mess. So now I'm going to come in and we're going to do the colors. And by the way, this is Quetzalcoatl in flight. These are different colors. We're going to use the purples and the aquas or turquoise or whatever you want to call them. So, you know, you want to go over the areas in the neck area and all that where it represents the space or the darkness. And people always, what kind of brush you use? Well, I kind of have to customize my brush. I usually have a medium, kind of a sharp brush. And what I'll do is I'll cut the tip off to make it a flat edge, and it gives me a little bit more the calligraphy effect, where I can do a line with one edge and then do a sweep with the other. So it saves time from changing brushes over, and that's the part that bums me out. That's why I like Procreate, because you don't have to deal with all the water and all the cleaning the brushes. And now we're going to go on to the turquoise. Going to paint his helmet, and this is like a space helmet to me, dude. Maybe a race car helmet, but it's a helmet nonetheless. Looks like he's flying in space to me. These colors that we're using, I kind of embellished, put my own pattern or colors that I wanted to use. Just to make it more like fantastic and stuff. But the originals, they were in stone, and they were like faded green, or I don't really remember what. Maybe there was a little bit of yellow and red, but I decided which colors to do it to make them a little bit more, to stand out more, and to show that that it could be technology up above his head and around him, because this could be a vehicle. Because when it's all monotone, you can't really tell those things that well. So we're just gonna finish off his little arm thingies there, which by the way weren't on the original, and I kind of added that. Watched too many Viking shows, I guess. Now, skin color is a whole nother matter. You can go with whatever you want to, but the darker the better towards these guys. But some people like to say, Quetzalcoatl was a white guy with a beard that came from Europe to teach the savages or whatever. He might have had some features, but you know, the people from there and everybody, everybody was dark. You know, even maybe you might even want to say black on some of the, you know, tone colors and stuff like that. But don't be tripping about this kind of stuff. Just, I like to make the tone color that, to me, in my mind, represents these people and my people, or whatever, you know, just the culture, you know. And I don't think they were white, so sorry. Yeah, just go. It's really kind of like you know, like a therapeutic when you do this kind of stuff, and it all starts coming together. Even though this seems like paint by numbers, it's a lot harder, because you know, you want to put some finesse in it, and you it's not like something that you want to rush through. Patience. So we're gonna go to the greens. His pant leg or skirt or whatever. Yeah, I got to go to Mexico and see some of this stuff in the museum they have there. It's amazing. You know, some of it's like on big old stone slabs, some of it's big old boulders, and most of it is all intact, you know, but there's a vast majority that got broken by the Spaniards. You know, those guys couldn't leave nothing alone. So these kind of things scared them. You know, they couldn't explain them, or maybe they knew, maybe they were told what they were about, and maybe they wanted to hush it up because, you know, I don't know. But the things that they depict, like this guy, what is he doing? You know, I mean, to me, he looks like he's flying in a spaceship. You know, or it could be a boat, it could be a race car, it could be anything. But he's riding a serpent, and that serpent is Quetzalcoatl. And he's holding that handbag that all around the world, all these cultures, you know, the Sumerians on down, they all have the same handbag. They don't even know what that is, but it's, to me, it seems like some kind of power source, because anytime they were going to be doing something, that they had to have that in their hand. Some red to give him like a kind of a cape. This is super vato. You know, in their culture, all these colors had deep meanings and stuff. I have no clue, but I changed some of the colors and hope I didn't offend anybody. But, you know, this is arte. Just continuing around. Looks like the rooster part of the helmet is coming back to fill in the red. We're dealing with some gold, because I just had to have some gold in there. I had the pirate thing. It's kind of like his skirt, or maybe it's his seatbelt. Who knows what? And this is a different brush. This is like no. This is my chopped up one. painting the magical handbag yellow. Pardon my dog, he kind of like snores loudly, makes grunting noises. We call him a piggy dog. So it's kind of like a light green, and I don't know what, it's like a fringy thing that's coming down. So these things are kind of like, it's like feathery, kind of fringy. Yeah, if you ever get a chance, go to Mexico and check this stuff out in person. You know, and a lot of the stuff is had been confiscated, and it's all over the world, especially in England. They've got a big old place where they show the stuff they stole from around the world. Good old England. Yeah. In my backyard, I planted some wildflowers and let the trees grow tall, and just kept having water and a little bit of bird feed out there. Now it is an animal habitat. Sounds like a jungle. Of course, it all stops now. So this is like a rattlesnake tail. I'm painting that gold. Oh, to have witnessed what they actually saw. Just some dark green. You know, these square boxes, they seem more like computer screens, you know. So that's what I did. I painted them into screens or monitors to show his flight. So the inside of his neck is going to be this green with a little bit of yellow flare. And around his back, he's going to have the purple with the scales. the most tedious part is, having to come back and cover all the parts that, are see-through. But it's all part of the patience and stuff, Don't glop on the paint, like get it to a point where it's like a thick ink. That way it glides on, and instead of you using it like what is that, oil paints or something that you kind of like, it has texture and thickness to it. This, I would rather, when you go over your hand over when it's dry, that it doesn't feel like any texture, and because sometimes if you goop it on, then that line, if it was a wrong line and you paint it over with, it's still gonna show. It's gonna be like a bump, so you really want to, take your time, mix a tiny bit of water or get a little sprayer and just spritz it, and then mix it to where it's smooth. Really helps out a lot, and that way you're in control of the consistency, and then your brushes work way better. It pulls the paint along, so it's like you're drawing with an ink pen. This monitor is going to be red. And by the way, the snoring dog is called Punky. He sleeps, but when you say his name, his tail wags. Now the red is going to be on the crest, or whatever you call it, the top of the serpent's head. It's like an aerodynamic thing. Go back and touch up the red wherever you see it. Because if not, it'll bug you forever. Take your time so you can make it fantastic or fantastic. Just a little bit of orange. Coming together, it'd be really cool to see an animation of this kind of stuff, some kind of like, motion picture. Instead, we get like other kind of people interpreting this stuff, but from a sci-fi perspective would be cool. Non-colonialist perspective. So we're going to do this monitor in blue, the screen. I like to grab one corner and pull down to the next corner in one stroke, and then the way you fill in the rest is different, but it's kind of like coloring with crayons. Put your little border in, but if you do it right, you can do it in like the fewest strokes possible. a lot of people do this kind of tiny hashing thing, but that's for somebody who's not sure of their stroke. Be confident. You can always fix it. You let it flow like the brush knows where it's to go. That's why something like this, seemingly simple, is complex because of the attention and the patience you have to have. Not only that, there's layers to this. So I'll usually turn them upside down or whatever to accommodate the angle that I'm painting at. Sometimes it's a goofy angle, and if you turn it, then it becomes an angle that's not so goofy. Plume serpent, the feather serpent, the bringer of civilization, knowledge, wisdom. And it was said that he didn't like blood sacrifices. He said sacrifice flowers and fruits and stuff like that to me. It was Huitzilopochtli, his brother or arch deity. He's the guy that was the god of war, and he liked blood sacrifices. And wouldn't you know it, the Aztecas were led to Mexico City by Huitzilopochtli. But check it out. Huitzilopochtli, his symbol, besides a hummingbird, is an eagle. And guess what the serpent is? He's the one that the eagle's eating. So talk about, God warfare. It seems like they would take turns ruling the nations or whatever. One would rule for a period of time and then get kicked out, and the other would rule for a while. They would be called ages. Okay, Punky. So we're going back to get all the green. Make sure it's solid. lot of purple. And what I'm not showing you is that off to the right on my light stand, I have a little fan that I could angle. And this takes twice as long only because in between I have to make sure that the last coat was thoroughly dry. Because if I come around, I'll mess it up somehow if it's wet. You know, it'll bleed or my hand will get on it and mess it up. So I have to stop and let the fan do its thing, and I have to go walk away and do something else. You know, and then I'll come back, add a little bit more color, let it dry. Then, you know, I'll have to repeat the whole process per color. So I kind of leave the fan on the whole time, and it kind of, you know, helps. But, you know, I'm in Arizona, so when the summertime, I don't need nothing. Just set it in the room, in the shade. But right now in December, you know, you need a little fan. Otherwise, you're just waiting and waiting. And you get, you know, you're supposed to be patient, but this is going to make you like want to touch it. And then there it goes. There's a fingerprint, or you splotch something. It happens, you know, but you just keep conscious of it. So these are the underbelly kind of like rivets or ridges. You know, do the old thick at the tip and then thin and way out. Thick and thin. So we're going to do the earth on our little monitor here. Leave it blue like it is. And then I put a little bit of color around it to identify the ball. And of course, I start running away, doing something further down. You know, I love inking or lining, doing the black. That's my favorite part, because the payoff is the definition and the clarification. And sometimes, you know, you don't know what these things are, so you kind of just, you're interpreting as you go. So I just try to make them look interesting, like, oh, this is a bolt that holds up the monitor. Yeah. Then you just add, you know, your lines to make it, you know, more interesting and credible. But, you know, if you do it right, it makes it stand out, pop out. Gives it the comic book feel. More bolts. there's always like some kind of crosses. They have like in their symbology. I don't know if it's a number or to look it up. But in this case, it's the power conduit to our monitor. Yeah. Somewhere the Olmecas or the Mayans are going, what the hell? So that was the sun. And then we're going to add some continents to the earth, little green blotches. And then an atmosphere of light blue. Then usually come in with some stars at the tip of a pencil. This one, if you do it right, you can do about 4 dots per dip. The key is not to try to make, you want to make tiny dots so that it lasts. And then if you go into the side of the tip of the pencil, there's more ink, but it's going to be an oblong dot. So now we're going to use the edge of this pen to create Mars, and then we need some more stars. Voila. And that's the inner of the monitors. And now we're going to do the fringe. If you feel like you're running out of paint halfway down, you slightly twist the brush and you'll have enough. Small details, you know, I'm trying to make it look more mechanical. Drawing with the brush, ink style, just doing some definition. You know, it's amazing. Some people don't use black at all. They don't outline. They just use color on color. And I know that's probably the genius way. I gotta use black. Probably because I grew up with cartoons, comic books, graphic novels. Even my grandma's Bible had these like painted illustrations, like a graphic novel, you know. the face. He's kind of like a mad Japanese guy, and they don't usually put the pupil in there. And you got like, they got kind of like an underbite and a nose that kind of slopes to the forehead. But the eyes are, they got the mad villain eyes. Love it. The bracelets, everything gets lined. And while you're doing it, if you haven't noticed, while you're going and adding your line, you're also kind of correcting the outer edges. So if I wanted to hit his hand slimmer, I would have just outlined a little bit inwards. And then if there was like a color that was popping out, of its border, the black line comes in, and if you put it correctly, it'll cover up that imperfection. So it's like an editing tool at the same time. But yeah, I think color and coloring is one thing, but line work is just skeleton. It's what defines it. And I'm sure there's easier ways. Like for instance, the scales. You can probably just slatch color as we go down. But I would rather slotch color on those scales that I drew myself and highlight them instead of making the whole thing just one highlight. He's flying around with no shoes on. You can see how when I turn it, now it's easy for me to pull and go down. If I had to do it the other way, it would kind of go against, it'd be like painting left-handed. So I have to turn it to make the stroke smooth in a natural fashion that fits for me. So we're gonna make the scales. So you kind of do like a half a diamond, and you put the other diamond on top in between the last ones, and you kind of keep going like that, kind of in a, I don't know if it's like a fishnet pattern, but you want to show the sharpness of the scale that's coming out under the last ones you just drew. So this one, you need to take your time, and you don't want them to start looking sloppy. You want them to be pointy and pretty much unified in shape and size. And like I said, this is perfect for your inky water paint, because that way you'll get a whole row of scales out of it. And then once you get the flow, you see it just pulls you all the way down. Just don't get lazy. Stop if you have to, and just continue. And make sure that nothing else is wet on your canvas, because this is the time when you're gonna smudge it. Some people, in order not to indent into their canvas or smudge, they use a ruler, and they put the ruler down on a tip, the one tip down on the table and the other one held up, and your hand rests with your brush on top of so it never touches your canvas, nor does the stick. That's an old school thing. They used to have long brushes and long sticks. But after you paint for a long time, you know not to put your weight onto your work. And if I had to put something on it, I'd put my pinky on a place that I knew was dry. See right here, I could be smushing up the scales if I put my hand down, knowing that they're still wet. You know, and then you get to the point where you're like, this is tedious, but just continue because the effect is worth it. You know, and you make sure the direction is like this. You do the same with a mermaid. Now we're going to add the stars using the same pencil, but using white. You know, and you can do in any style, random, whatever you feel like it. But you just want to fill the sky with stars. This one's fun because it's like the home stretch. And you know, you want small ones, medium, big ones to give that illusion of depth. You know, and then look back at your patches and you'll see where you might need a star or two. Now, this is how I border this painting. I use the stick of the painting, of the paint stick, and I dip it in the paint and I pull it around the edges so it's kind of thick. Now this glitter glaze is like the white one with the iridescence, and I'm gonna put it only on outer space and maybe the monitors, so it makes it give that the more stars, you know, more thingy. And then I found where I was missing stars. Always double check. Then when it dries, when it really dries, use the polyurethane. And that's a step that some people don't take either. But the clear makes the paint pop and it pulls it all together. So you would let this coat dry under the fan and then come back and do another coat, but the opposite direction. And that should be good enough. Some people like to go for the third one, and it really seals it in. But you have to be wary that you don't come back before it's really dry. Otherwise you're gonna have these sticky, it's just gonna be a mess, you know what I mean? So take your time, wait till one dries completely, you know. And sometimes the first coat is all you need. Thank you for taking the class and spending this time with me. This is a good little lesson in our culture and techniques, you know, of Mantastic style. And if you have any questions, you know, message me, you know, and tell me what you would like to see me paint or what kind of class you would like to see me put together.